Alright, welcome to today's video. Today's video might be a little bit of a sensitive subject, regardless what side of the line you draw for, maybe you're even in the middle of it. But today we are going to go visit the grave of Blackhawk here in Utah. His real name is actually Antonga, and he was born circa 1830 near Spring Lake, Utah. At the time, it was known as Alta California, or the First Mexican Republic. No official birth dates, but we know that he was born in 1830, and he died on September 26th, 1870. I want to go in and give a little bit of a history about him. He was a 19th century war chief of the Timpanogos tribe in what is now the present-day state of Utah. He led the Timpanogos against Mormon settlers and gained alliances with Paiute, Navajo bands in the territory against them during what became known as the Blackhawk War in Utah between 1865 and 1872. Yes, it was a couple years after his passing. Although Blackhawk made peace in 1867, other bands continued raiding until the U.S. intervened with about 200 troops in 1872. Blackhawk died in 1870 from a gunshot wound he received while trying to rescue a fallen warrior, Whitehorse, at Gravely Ford, Richfield, Utah, on June 10th, 1866. So he still had there. He was shot 4 years before he died, but in 1870 he passed away from those wounds that never fully healed and complications set in. The name Blackhawk and Antonga, by which he was known, are not Ute Indian names. Blackhawk was a name that Brigham Young, in jest, called the Ute leader. Young's term became the name by which is now most commonly known for. There were some 3 or more Indians or Native Americans that the white people referred to as Blackhawk in Utah history, this being one of them. It is reminiscent of Chief Blackhawk of the Sauk and the Muskogee people and the Blackhawk War of 1832 in Illinois, where the Mormons had migrated from. To the Mexicans, he was known as Antonga, also not a Ute name. The Timpanogos had long established trade relations with the Mexicans. Utah's Blackhawk was the son of Chief Sandpitch. In 1847, the first Mormon pioneers arrived in the territory where the indigenous peoples had lived for thousands of years. Historic tribes included the Timpanogos, the Paiute, and the Navajo. In 1865, Blackhawk and the Timpanogos started raiding the livestock and goods of the steadily encroaching settlers. The white population had dramatically increased to about 50,000 at a time when the Timpanogos population is estimated to have been 15,000 to 20,000. Epidemics of measles and smallpox had caused many deaths among Timpanogos, as they had no immunity to new diseases. The rate of tuberculosis was high because of the weakened condition of the people. Mormon farming of domesticated crops and animals had altered the environment, driving off the game, which was the main Timpanogos source of food. By 1865, hundreds of Timpanogos were starving. The Blackhawk War that began in Utah began in 1865 and ended in 1872. It was a 3-part war involving 16 tribes of the Timpanogos and allied bands of Paiute and Navajo who declared war against the Mormon settlers. For years, the U.S. government ignored requests for aid from the Mormons, as many federal leaders wanted to displace the LDS Church from its dominance of settlers in Utah. Mormon settlers fought to maintain the control of what they called Zion, long the traditional territory of the Ute people. Ute history knows that Blackhawk made peace with Palefaces in 1867. He visited every white village from Cedar City to Payson, Utah, to plead with white settlers to try to make peace. Without his leadership, the conflict was reduced, but raids continued until the U.S. forces intervened in 1872. Blackhawk died of tuberculosis in 1870 before the end of the war. The Blackhawk War was not a single incident, but a series of raids and small-scale conflicts. More than 150 engagements took place over a 7-year period throughout Utah territory, and the conflict spilled over into Colorado, Idaho, and Wyoming. So I would highly suggest that you pause the video right on the placard so you have enough time to read what is actually said. But it's interesting and kind of sad because people had robbed his original grave and put his skeleton on display at the BYU campus until recently when the campus gave the body back to the tribe for burial here. It's sad that I haven't been able to find any pictures about that, but I don't know if the validity of that. I can't confirm that. I don't know. I can't confirm that, but that's what it said. So I'm going to go off the placard and assume that is correct. Anyways, thanks for watching today's video. I hope you learned some history from this and be able to always remember the truth of our history and be able to take that and move on and continue to teach the correct history that we have. And don't ever forget the other parts of our history. Thanks for watching again.
Hey everybody. Everybody watching has to subscribe. Subscribing is cool. Thanks.